Dzień dobry, jestem nazywam się Fryderyk Sebron, jestem Francuzem. Uczę się mówić po polsku, ale I think it will be better if we pursue in English. I'm the founder and CEO of Actea, which is a transformation management group, and we are actually settling in Poland, so that's why I'm here today with Sergiusz, our Polish partner. When we worked on that presentation, we wonder what can we tell you about which may be of interest, and I thought that maybe talking to you, presenting you the evolution of the French market for the past decade, maybe of some interest to maybe enlighten what may occur in Poland. Maybe we will see that by the end of the presentation. Maybe a little word of introduction of yourself, Sergiusz.
Well, yeah, I'm a Polish interim manager. I've been doing that for a long time. I do general management and business development, and so we started cooperating on this new project here in Poland to become another actor of the interim management market, because we believe, and I think this will also show in the data, we believe the market is going to grow, and so we want to take part in that and maybe even help with that.
You got the
clicker.
The clicker best. Let's enhance. This first line, so please excuse us, there will be many figures, and it's the definition for making French people work during lunchtime. So here you see the global evolution of French market on the last 10 years. This square figures are the market, and the orange part is the direct market, meaning the part where a manager directly signs with the clients, and the blue one is the part with service providers, such as ourselves. The green line is the numbers of service providers on the French market. And the blue line is not the Himalaya, but it's the GDP of France over the years, with, of course, the impact of the COVID that you may see. What is interesting to stress out, our market, our interim management market, that we call transition market, if I do make an incorrect English translation, have been multiplied by 5 over the 10 years, largely surperforming, doubling, in fact, the evolution of the growth of the global French market. And we will see on the next slide, if you may go on, please, Sergiusz, that that's the evolution of still the market in between 16, 19, and 23. You will see that the market was driven by the blue part. In fact, the intermediated part of the market was the part which grew the biggest. So it's like the oven and the egg. I don't have the answer. I don't know if it's because there are more interactors on the market that the market grows quicker, or because the market grows that it brings new competitors on the market. But I think it's quite interesting to see that the more the market grows, the more interactors there were in France working on this market. But I think that's quite a kind of normal, because the interest of the service providers is to have a big commercial forces working to see clients and explaining what we can do with interim managers. So it may have driven quite a lot the market over the past years. Yes. This one is to strengthen the type of assignments. You may see just a little translation problems, but when in France we're talking of interim management, it's more related to gap management, and whereas we will work on project management and restructuring assignments. So you see that the figures were quite the same, just to strengthen the typical French impact of the really big growth of the interim management assignments during the last years, because of the situation and the tension on the recruitment market. The unemployment rates were quite low for French market, which is quite a big employment rate, and so many many companies came to interim manager just to have the time to make a correct recruitment, and it was really typical of the last couple years where really those kinds of assignments have got quite an explosion. But I think it will get quite back to normal in the next few years, because the recruitment market is getting a little less tense for now. Now we will speak, I think, of the. Maybe you can go on. Yeah, next slide. The next slide, and I will give the Sergius will explain you the kind of interim managers that we have on the market.
Yeah. So this, I think, also answers one of the questions that someone posed earlier. The statistics are not very precise because we have this blue others category where there are general management roles, but also all the others like supply chain and purchasing and IT. So it's not super clear, but at the same time, we can very clearly see that the dominant non-other, so non-general management role is finance, and this is stable over time. And the two second places, more or less equally, are manufacturing and HR, with sales being smaller. And this is stable over time. So 2/3 at least of the specialities are finance, HR, operations, and sales, which is kind of interesting, and this doesn't move over time. The other interesting evolution that we can see in France is that the structure of the market also evolves in terms of how big the actors are who use interim management. So here in 2016, we have 25% smaller companies, and this has dropped, not significantly, but it's still dropping. But the big change is between the very large groups that are international, which are here. They came down to this. But the large groups, which are defined here as more than 5,000 employees, they have grown very significantly. And I think this is an interesting insight on the potential future also of the interim market in Poland, because the evolution is very clear. Bigger players are using more and more interim managers. Yeah. And the medium ones are still significant here. We will have another slide on the comparison towards Poland afterwards.
So all of that done, and now that you're quietly sleeping, we will try to make a comparison between actual figures in Poland are not 2024 that we discovered with you at the beginning of this day, but 2023 public figures, and the French market that was 10 years ago. And that's the interesting part. If we compare the market volume, in Poland, we are about 143 million euros with an average income just a little less of 20k euros per year. In France, in 2014, the market volume for interim management was quite the same, and with a really average income quite comparable, and with quite the same representation between indirect and direct part of the market. So we see that the figures are really interesting because they're not really that far. And when we compare also the type of assignments on which you guys are working on, it's again really interesting to see that the percentages are quite the same. Maybe just a little bit more of restructuring activities, but it's really comparable. So it was interesting, I think, to make this comparison. And if we go further. If we look at the type of companies, as Sergius introduced a little before, that starts the differences, because here you see really the difference between France and Poland. In France, more of half of the market is driven by the industries. more of half of our assignments are within industries, whereas France is not really known for its strengths in industries. And if we compare, it's the GDP sketch. You're almost on 30% in Poland, whereas we're under 20% in France, and we see that in interim management, more than half of the assignments in France are on industries, where you are about 40%. The other big difference that we may see, of course, services, but it's more quite relative of the weight of the services in the GDP, and the part of distribution, which is of course quite bigger here in Poland, because of course you have more activities than us in France on those kind of markets. But I think that on industries there's something to work on.
Yeah, so again, coming back to company sizes, I was surprised to see this data. Our data is not fully consistent because the sources were different. So here, the large companies are defined as more than 1,000 on the Polish side, and we can very clearly see that they are not very frequent buyers of interim management services, whereas in France, the limit is 5,000, and still it's a lot more. So there is more trust from the big organizations towards interim management. Another aspect is that most of the assignments in Poland are done in relatively small companies, small and mid-size until 250 people. Again, in France, it's not the same percentage, but what is notable is that, of course, the structure of the economies is not the same either. So in Poland, there are more smaller companies active in, as a percentage of GDP compared to France, where large companies and international groups weigh relatively more, with medium-sized companies also weighing more. But I think this also opens our thinking towards this possible phenomenon that this percentage and this percentage possibly can grow over time. Yeah. Now, in terms of the analysis of interim managers, when we look at age, this is also interesting. In Poland, we have the 50-year barrier is here. So 2/3 of interim managers are senior in terms of where they stand towards compared to 50-year-olds or less than 50. And in France, the barrier is here, which means that there are a lot more young or younger interim managers that are active, which also is congruent with the fact that in Poland, there's a lot more senior positions that are also filled by interim managers. So we have many more general managers and CEOs and board members in Poland comparatively than in France. But in France, we have the bigger companies, and so there is more mid-level specialists like finance, etc.
So having that said, we are not reading in the rest of your coffee cups. I'm sorry, so I won't tell you what will happen in Poland. I don't have that ability. But looking back to what have occurred in France, again, the market size was multiplied by more than 5, with a growth of the GDP of about 2% a year. Here in Poland, what we found in the statistics is market growth more of over 3% for the next 4 years. So we may all hope, I don't know if the markets will be multiplied by 5, but we may all hope that it will grow. How and in which size, I don't know that, but I think we can all here be quite optimistic on the future of the Polish market of interim management. We tried to figure out on what we can all work here, because we are all part of the same environment. And as we explained before, there's more questions than answers, of course, but we may think about the weight of the industry, as we told, the weight of the very large companies. Why are they here using so less interim management, so in comparison to what we may see in other markets? Maybe working on those CEX positions, finance, HR, and so on, which seems to be a little underrepresented here. Maybe at the age going back to in France, it was. I really saw that during my experience of the last 7 years on the market in France. I saw that really younger people getting in touch with us to being interested in becoming an interim manager, and with a real decision. I mean, not just being unemployed and saying, okay, it will be better on LinkedIn to work interim management than being, jobless. But no, it's a huge movement that we have in France, actually. And just to stress out maybe other things that are working, I think, less efficiently in France compared to Poland, the theme, and I'm not saying it because we're here today, but in France we don't have an equivalent, in fact, of the theme. We have an association, but which is just the association of the people that have been accredited, was by one of the companies that accredit interim management. So we lack, in fact, an association which can represent the objectives of the interim manager. But we do have a federation of the service providers, which is quite interesting because it can go to also ministries and can have other actions to defend our market and to defend the interest of interim managers and interim management. Thank you all. I don't know if...
Let's find a space for one question, maybe, if we can.
With pleasure.
There is Kuba.
Thank you very much. So when you discussed roles in interim management, I understand you might not have hard data, but you didn't mention any technology-related roles.
They were in the others.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're good questions. There are interim management. We all have a problem with data because we need to. Sometimes it can go into advisories or maybe get out of the figuration. But they do have, of course, CIOs also on the market, and it's quite developing, in fact.
Thank you very much. Sergiusz Rzemek, Frédéric Sebron, Actea. Wielkie brawa.
Dziękuję.